Thank you, Mr. Atianjoh, and it's my pleasure to be back here. I've always been excited to be here during the town hall meetings, and a lot of people have spoken positively about what you are doing, and they are very educative. A lot of people go out from here learning a lot of things that they really matter to their lives. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Doc, and thank you for the compliments. This is our collective effort, you included, for bringing your knowledge and your expertise to share with our people. So I would like those on this platform, even those following us on Facebook, if they want to post questions. A lot of our people are not very familiar with this PTSD concept, the post-traumatic stress disorder. We out here in the West, we are very familiar because we're in a country, for example, you and I, where we see soldiers go to Afghanistan, come back, go to Iraq, come back, go to Syria, come back. Now they go to, all over the world. And in your profession, this is very, very advanced out here. So what is PTSD and how does it relate to the mental state of our people?
Okay, thank you. Just the name PTSD, which is known as post-traumatic stress disorder, it really defines it in a very clear terms how this is happening. What we are talking here is about, when they talk about just looking at the name, you use post, means after, something that happens after an impact. So post-traumatic stress, which means that the stress that a traumatic stress that you might have been exposed to would cause certain mental health changes in you. So post-traumatic stress disorder means that it occurs in people who must have been exposed to some kind of a traumatic event. And these traumatic events could include violence, like war, like the situation we have in Amazonia and Cameroon as a whole. There's a lot of violence that is going on, which could be experienced directly or indirectly. We also have about domestic violence, where people could be subjected, either the male or the husband and wife could be subjected to domestic violence, and also children. Then we can talk about accidents, even motor vehicle accidents that could be very traumatic to people. And then we'll have issues like sexual assault and all sort of violence or situations that you could encounter. And once an individual encounters these situations or these traumatic events, it plays down in their lives, like within a period of a month or after a month or exceeds a month. So post-traumatic stress disorder is divided into two parts. The one that is acute is when you feel the impact of a traumatic experience that you might have been exposed to directly or indirectly, and the impact of it stays for a time frame of a month. Then we call it acute stress disorder. But when it is above a month, then it becomes post-traumatic stress disorder. So post-traumatic stress disorder, in a nutshell, is your ability to respond to a stressful encounter that you might have experienced directly or indirectly. And there are a lot of things that would affect your mental state and can be exhibited through symptoms, which I think you're going to ask me later.
Yes, I would certainly ask. Sorry, let me mute. Okay, sorry about that. I think I muted her. Okay, sorry about that. Now, yes, I also want let us set this out, set the frame, Dr. Atianjoh, and then have people ask questions, because this is something that I am not an expert, you are the expert, but what I've seen here in the news, for example, we see this manifests. We are talking about it because we are going through a war. And
yes.
we see countries, for example, I run into veterans, some of them I've even worked with, who said they are on their second tour. They have been on fourth tour, fifth tour. So we see that in war, it is so traumatic that countries have to keep, recycling fighters to give them that break, as you said, from these very traumatic experiences, explosions, killings, dead bodies, seeing comrades fall. Discuss the impact of the situation in the context of the Ambazonian liberation struggle. Okay. Not only with the fighters, but with the societies, our women, our young girls, our young boys, the violence, the drugs, the everything.
I really appreciate the question because in Ambazonia and Cameroon as a whole today, a lot of people are affected. Almost people from all walks of life are affected because the trauma has extended to all levels. People, for instance, we have people who are fighting. These people have experienced traumatic events like explosions, gunshot, their loved ones killed right in front of them. And then we also have our population that is suffering from two enemies, those who are abducting them and asking for ransom, and some who are killing them. So you can see that the impact, what is happening within our communities, or what is happening within Ambazonia and Cameroon as a whole, is quite traumatic to all people, whether they are children, adults, or they are working class or non-working class. You go to villages, you can see that most of our villages have been impacted by this war. For instance, the burning of houses, that is traumatic. You can experience how somebody has worked all through his or her life to build a hut for himself or herself, and then that hut is burned down. It is a traumatic event that can set up a lot of trouble, a lot of thinking, a lot of flashbacks, a lot of dreams or scary situations or fright or fear in these individuals. Then we also have an experience where children, they sit and they are able to witness the killing of their parents. This is very traumatic within this population of people. And then women seeing their children killed every day is also a traumatic event. And then because of the fact that this war has protracted for a long time, if you go to places like the hinterlands, the rural areas, roads are no more in good conditions. So what is going to happen is that there's a multiplication of motor vehicles accidents, which have actually put a lot of trauma on the local populations. And even the way they transport themselves back and forth is kind of very traumatic to them. And then another aspect of it is the fact that people are sick because of no availability of medical facilities for them to go acquire help, so this is also traumatic to these individuals. So if I want to name them, it's almost everything that is involved is traumatic in a wartime zone. Like what is happening in Ambazonia today, we have people are exposed, they have moved from their homes where they were comfortable, they have relocated to areas where they don't even know anything about, and they are forced to make life worth living in those new areas. This is traumatic, changing from one environment, a comfortable environment, to an uncomfortable environment, even with children, with family, with responsibilities that you have to take care of. So everything has really set our people in a very difficult position where every day they live is traumatic for them, because of the experiences that they encounter. Being at home or even out of their homes, the people have lost jobs, people are sick, people have been exposed to unhealthy conditions, people have been killed, houses have been burned, and motor vehicle accidents have occurred. A lot of things have also happened. And all this in combination have affected our populations in many ways, and is very traumatic to our society.
Well, from what you're saying, I'm beginning to wonder if this has not been, I don't know if there is a medical scientific term for a collective PTSD situation where almost a nation, a community, because when you think of the way that this government in La Republique has treated its people and us for the past 60 years, you look at the conditions in prison, for example, you see the young guys who go to prison. You hardly see somebody who has been in prison for 5, 6, 10 years in La Republique, comes out of prison and turns their life into, something profitable. Unlike here in the West, you have people who have been to prisons and have come out, and some of them are public speakers, going out into communities, educating the young people on what to avoid, on the life they don't want, using their mistakes, and they become contributors in a positive way to society. I don't know if this PTSD is something that has been used to kind of just cage our people and keep them in a permanent state of trauma where they cannot even see certain things that are obviously wrong with them, because it just seems to be a normalcy now. And people don't see it as a problem. People just see it as a normalcy of, oh, this is life. This is how life is. I don't know if you can speak to that.
Yes, true. To be sincere with you, what is happening back in Africa or in Amazonia is quite a very pathetic situation. Yes, I understand what you've just said. Yes, most of these people are ignorant. And what is happening is that mental health in Africa is still at a very rudimentary level at this moment, because people are so exposed to, they have all these myths that mental health is a curse, or maybe you stole somebody's thing and it could, or supernatural powers are acting on you. People have not come to the realization that mental health is real, and they always overlook those conditions. And sometimes some who are educated to a certain level to understand that they have mental health issues, they are stigmatized, because just imagine you going to the hospital that you are not sick upstairs. I mean, everybody's just going to consider you a madman, right? That is how they call it. They generalize it back home. Yeah. They call it. So they are stigmatized and they will not want to seek care. And even though you compare it to the Western standard, but I will tell you that mental health, even in the United States, is still developing, because there are still a lot of people out there who are so ignorant and are so stigmatized that they do not want to seek care. They feel like there are no problems. I encounter that on daily basis. I encounter patients that are brought to me on daily basis who come and they're in denial of everything. You see the symptoms in them, but they are in denial of everything. So if that could be happening here, what more of a situation back home? So yes, I agree. Our people are caged in this PTSD syndrome, and they don't, because they don't even know what it is all about. They don't even know what to do with it. They don't even know their situation. So in our dungeons, which we call prisons, the conditions there are so horrible in a way that people are subjected to constant and persistent torture and trauma that affects or impacts the way they do things. That is why you see those prisoners back home, when they get out of prison, they cannot function, they cannot do anything meaningful for themselves. It's because they have been caged up in this traumatic environment for a long time, that it is a norm to them. In terms of their own life, they feel like it's just, that is how they are, and which is a problem, something that should be identified and corrected.
Now, Doc, I just want to ask people who have a question, they can raise their hands and ask you directly. We also have Dr. Foster in-house. I don't know if he also wants to chip in, but before that happens, I would like to ask you, since you've talked about this, just to follow up to what you've said.
Yeah.
What are the possible signs and symptoms to look out for?
Okay. This is what happens with somebody who has been exposed to a traumatic past, or indirectly or indirectly. So what happens is that there are a lot of symptoms that are exhibited by these people. We have intrusive symptoms. These intrusive symptoms are symptoms that come in, like you have constant memories of the events. which are disturbing to you. Those memories come in the form of flashbacks. They come in the form of dreams, like scary dreams. You see these people, they get up at night because it's scary. Oh, I just dreamed that something terrible happened. So they have different types of dreams that they will occur, and then they have memories that will kind of very traumatic to them. And then once they have these intrusive thoughts, it goes to the level of causing them to be anxious, excessively anxious in the way they do things, in a way that they even forget. First of all, they don't want to talk about events. First of all, they will tell you, no, I don't want to talk about my past. I don't want to talk about the events that happened. Then some of them will avoid people or places, objects that would remind them of that incident. Some of them would be ashamed or would be restless because of that situation. It causes them a lot of restlessness. Some will even be ashamed of what has happened and showing that in their behavior, and in that situation, they withdraw. And then some of them will be confused and also show some what we call dissociative amnesia. Dissociative amnesia means that you forget the details of the event, the traumatic past that you went through. You cannot chronologically explain that this is what happened. You forget most of it. You can't even remember what is going on. So those are the symptoms that you would see in these individuals. And above all, and mental health is very connected. Once you are feeling bad about your past, and you are showing some sort of anxiety about your past, it is also connected to the fact that you can also be depressed as a result of the past that you've experienced. And certain symptoms that are typical of your depression that is related to your past would be, one, you suffer from what we call anhedonia. Anhedonia means you lack interest in things that you used to like. For instance, somebody who used to play like video games would come out and would not like to play video games anymore. Then you also have issues with sleep. You will not be able to sleep well. You can stay like for hours or days without sleeping because of the fact that you are depressed or anxious. And then you will not be able to have good appetite. You are able, you have either you have increased appetite or decreased appetite. So they will complain to you, this individual will complain, I can't eat anymore. I've lost my appetite. I can't eat the way I used to eat. I'm not going to eat. And then they lack concentration and confusion, indecisiveness in whatever they are doing. So those are the kind of conditions that, symptoms that they will portray. And then another thing that will do is excessive worrying. These people would be just worried about everything that is happening in their lives, and they are so restless to a point that they are out of control. So those are the symptoms, the catalog of symptoms that I've presented.
Yes, Doc, can you also talk about, we have a hand up, but before we take the question, in this country, with this PTSD, we've also seen violence.
Yes.
Can you also talk about that symptom of violence, where, the slightest thing just ticks people off who are going through this anxiety you're talking about?
Yes, yes, violence. Violence, for instance, some people could have a PTSD or anxiety which is in remission. As soon as there's violence, that can actually trigger them to start thinking about their past, a traumatic past. And in this country where we are, there's a lot that is going on. That is why you see people who go out there to a school and shoot people. They'll go to a nightclub, shoot people. Violence is a very, very serious cause of PTSD. Yes, many people, just whether you experience it directly or indirectly, many people would be subjected or be vulnerable to this symptom just because of the fact that they might have witnessed it or they have experienced it directly. So violence is very, very terrible. When it is a very serious cause of a PTSD in a population.
Thank you. Let's take a question from Comrade Me. Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you, Comrade Atianjoh. I will mute. Sorry, I can't turn my camera because I'm not in a safe place. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Fidelis, for coming. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. The question I have to ask, I'm part of the team that works in the humanitarian department, and we've seen firsthand some of the things you've explained today. And our worry is that it's only going to get worse because there isn't any support. So my question to you would be, what advice would you give all those that are in that department, how to help the people, given the fact that we are in the middle of a war? How can we best help them? Or is it something, because at the moment it seems as if there's nothing we can do, we can do a few things, but majority of the people are suffering. And we are thinking, if these things carry on for the next how many years, is that when they would, get help? And if yeah, what damage would have been caused? So I just thought I'd pose you that question. Maybe you might give us some tips or advice that can help. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question. There are a lot. What you're already doing is very, very important. And in every condition, education is key. Education is very important. First of all, we have to raise that awareness within our communities through educating the people on this condition and the types of the signs and symptoms. And once the people are educated about it, they will willfully identify themselves and come to you and ask for help. And how do we help these people? The first thing that is very important in helping people suffering from PTSD is to use a therapeutic approach, which is, non-pharmacological approach, which is like you do therapy. Because these are people who are so full with negative thoughts about themselves, about the situation that occurred, about other people. These people even have a very, very, you'll be surprised to see the kind of impression they have about the community. And it can cause them to go and cause havoc within the community. Yes, so what is happening is that non-pharmacological approach is very important, where you can replace train these people to replace all those negative thoughts they have with positive thoughts through cognitive behavioral techniques, and there are other techniques that could be used, like exposure techniques and so forth. But you have to be a trained individual to do this. But basic education is very important to provide to these people. Now, another thing is that what we can do is that you already have a group of experts who are talking to these people. You can create a hotline through which people who are suffering from this condition could consult through that line. When they call, they will identify somebody who is going to talk to them. And when they talk to them, they'll be able to give them the information they need in order to help. Back home, I will not be too much like optimistic about the situation back home, because of the fact that they lacked even the most basic healthcare equipment to do certain things. So medication-wise, I think there are medications that are available that could be there, but I don't know personally if those medications are available. But the most important thing, that the only way we can do is to contact people who are working in the healthcare or mental health back home to see what they have. And then you will be able to make an assessment on what you can do with what they have. Because you can always improvise in situations like this.
Thank you very much, Doc. I don't know if you're a member, this is just an aside of the Southern Cameroonians Medical Association, because like Comrade Me was just saying, the humanitarian groups have reached out to them for other, health concerns from ground one, from ground zero, and they've assisted, with cancer patients, wounds, and things like that. So I don't know if you're part of that, or if there is a team of Southern Cameroonian psychiatrists or counselors, if there is a line where they can, even if it's not face-to-face, but leave a problem, and then they can get a feedback from you guys. Maybe that's something we can discuss behind the scenes.
Well, I would like to say here that yes, I heard the HHS of the IG government, and personally I've been on the ground. I was in October 1st. On October 1st, I was in ground one in Nigeria to visit the refugees. I had a face-to-face experience with them to see the conditions that they are going through. Yeah, we have a group of medical staff that are doing online consultation. And also we have a group of counselors too, who are giving counseling to the refugee communities. And another thing that I want to express here is that I'm at the level of creating a mobile medical first aid team on the ground. And we've already requested for a list of what is needed to be spent on that project. And in the next couple of months, there's going to be a mobile medical aid team, that equipment and drugs, that will be with drugs, that is going to help. Because the reason why we're doing this is because we've been faced with a lot of acute cases which have actually deteriorated to a level where these patients are admitted in the hospital, and we receive huge bills for their treatment. But these are things that could have been prevented from going to the hospital. So we want to create this first aid mobile first aid clinic so that they could mitigate such situations that would not let people go to the hospital and incur heavy bills. We just spent 1,000, that is about 1 million naira on a baby 2 weeks ago. This baby had boils all over and had sepsis. So we had to spend and the mother did not know what to do. And when it was discovered, they informed us about it, and we spent money to send the child to the hospital, the reference hospital in which state was this? That was in Enugu. And then the child is out of the hospital. And before that child could get out of the hospital, we spent about 1 million naira on it. But that is something that would have been avoided if we discovered it early enough and given the child some care. So yes, we have those things going on, and we have a plan for things like that.
Okay, there is a comment that when the clinic or helpline is created, please do share if that is okay, Dr. Fidelis. That's a comment in the chat to share.
Sure.
Yes, I don't know if any of your other colleagues, medical professionals who are in here want to chip in or say something or add, since we are talking about health. Just raise your hand and then unmute yourself, and then you can ask Dr. Atianjoh any questions, because he has a hard time with us till 1 p.m. Doc, I wanted to also ask you if this PTSD, the relationship between this PTSD and say schizophrenia in our society, because like you said, back home, everything is attributed to supernatural, cosmic power, and then people just walk down the street, naked, no care. And there is that stigma back home. Can this PTSD, which our people are going through, can it degenerate into something like that?
Well, hallucinations, schizophrenia, being disorganized in terms of behavior, yes, it could be partly a cause for that, but most often schizophrenia could come as a result of other causes, like people would go and abuse certain substances, like the drugs. I know in this time of war, these people back home, people are using drugs. Yeah. And there's an epidemic now where people are using tramadol, mixing it with making some concoctions. And there's an epidemic of young boys and girls falling prey into this and drug abuse, and is causing them to develop a schizophrenia. And also different stresses could have that. And these mental health conditions are as a result of imbalance in your own ability to transmit information normally in your brain. What I mean is that your neurotransmitters, there are many neurotransmitters, they are kind of involved in this. So once there's an imbalance in that, and stress could cause that to happen. And stress could come from the fact that you are subjected to some kind of a traumatic trauma, or trauma which could be medical trauma. For instance, if you take drugs, right, you are inducing a medical trauma to your brain, and that is going to cause some kind of imbalance within the in neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters are very, very important in the communication flow in your brain. The billions of neurons that you have in your brain needs to communicate. And once there's some kind of imbalance in these neurotransmitters, there are issues. And different neurotransmitters do different things, like serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. All these, they have different functions, but they are connected in the way they do their stuff. Yes, schizophrenia could be caused as a result of that indirectly, but most of it is as a result of the kind of things that people smoke or ingest into their system, and then it causes them to be in that state. And it could be treated. Yeah, they're very treatable, they're treatable, but the issue is that we have a rudimentary mental health system back home, which has not developed.
Thank you. We have a hand up, and that's Ma Nasta. Ma Nasta, do you have, unmute yourself and then ask.
Yes, Doctor, thank you so much. I just want to find out, you talked about you having a pool of a kind of hotline where people can call if they have a need. Yes. Can you help us publish that hotline? And do you have enough people in the pool? Because that's what we were, when I went out on a statement to start this campaign, you have, at least I'm happy I'm not an expert like you, but I could confirm some of the things I did on that, the show I had. And we also talked in Takumen that we need a hotline for people to be calling. So, but we don't need to be duplicating things, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So how do we put this together, and how can people reach that hotline? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I will be. I was speaking with somebody, and I said that I don't do politics when it comes to health and social services, because the needs of our refugees are universal. Everybody could go in and play a role to help our refugees. And you don't want to restrict some refugees from receiving things from people. I've had people call me, they said, oh, we don't support this IG, but these people want to give us some gifts. Do we take them? I said, are you crazy? Go and take it. Anybody, Amazonian, non-Amazonian, who is going to help you, they are helping you because of a situation in which you are. Embrace everybody. Yes, ma'am, we are going to open that line. We're going to develop it and make everybody benefit from it. Anybody, any Amazonian or even non-Amazonian who wants to do help our people on the ground, you are free to join the group, and we do that, and do that without any affiliation or no strings attached. No strings attached at all. Yes, I will make it available.
Thank
you. Let me just follow up. Just because of what you just said something about people ask if I now I think UNCHR and SEMA, they are working on a policy with the refugee leaders.
Yes.
That any help that is coming to them and is attached to any political group, it doesn't matter what is the leader, no matter whether it's the face of the revolution, whatever leader, whoever, no matter what, they will not take it. So things will be stricter now. And this means that, truly speaking, our, how do you call it, our freedom will come from where it started. That is ground one and ground zero. So it's getting there. And I really loved what you said. I think these are the things that we can use to build the bridges that we are talking about while we stick to our different groups. But that is going to happen very soon. And they will even send us, all of us. I'm sorry I'm letting this out, but I want to use this as an opportunity to say that we will be forced not to approach our people who need help as political entities. Thank you.
Well, I would also like to let something out here. What you have said is right. I spoke with the person who is in charge of, I think, SEMA. It's SEMA, yes. I spoke with that gentleman. That was in October when I came back from Nigeria. I spoke with him. He was very bitter that we went and gave things to refugees, that we did not follow the right channel. And I had to call him, and we had a very long conversation with him. And he actually expressed what you've just said. But we have moved above that. There's a document that we are trying to procure now that is going to allow us, to Ambazonians, any group, anybody who wants to give things to the refugees, to use that document to provide food or anything, aid to our refugees. That document is going to be out in the next one. They're publishing it for public petition in the next 1 week. As soon as it is published and then no petition comes against it, it's going to be made a working document.
Thank you very much, Doc. I know you have just about 17 minutes with us. Let me get us back to this conversation because it is really, really interesting. And at the end, we are going to segment this, and I'll send to you and also give the Takumbang and the other outlets to share, because this goes to the heart of like the former Justice Minister from Liberia, who was at the town hall, and she told us about the experiences of rehabilitating after a war. And she said the longer the war goes on, the harder it becomes. And she said one of the most difficult segments they had was creating a police force, because you had people who had been in the war with guns to now come and provide peace and protection to the people they had been fighting against. So this is very important, and that's why we really want to put this out there. And as I said in the beginning, our boys, which a lot of people do not understand, the same boys who are alive, who were children, some of them 7 years later are now of age, have been at war without any recycling, without any break. And our people don't understand that this traumatic experience affects their behaviors. We see even in Russia, they bring guys back as much as they need people on the front line and recycle them. We see in the US, when you've been out there for 8 months, 1 year, they bring you back, give you a break, you go through the therapy, the kind of, flush your system, for lack of a better term. But our guys have been there consistently going into the 7th year. Can you speak to what kind of effect and what we can do to help understand some of the actions? Because sometimes they'll make mistakes, not because they are bad people, but because they have been in this thing for 7 straight years without any reprieve for anything, no break, nothing. Can you help our people understand the mindset of these guys from your own expertise point of view? Wait, I want to do this a disclaimer. I'm not saying that we should forgive malfeasance, but I am trying to say that some of these things is not because they want to be criminal or do atrocious things. It's part of a condition. If you can go ahead.
Yes, I am not also saying this to claim that we should give room for certain behaviors to be portrayed against our own people. I'm just saying this to educate our people that before they take certain actions or before they make any decisions or do anything, they need to actually look at what these boys are, the kind of boys that are fighting. And I will tell you that if you do an assessment of all the fighters, these are all called amateurs. These are people who have never had any training in any camp on how to shoot a gun, on how to use a stick to even hit somebody. No, they have never done that. And if you do an assessment of them, you look at the level of education of 90% of this is below primary school. Yes, is below primary school. And what expectations would you have for somebody with that kind of level of reasoning? So they will go out there, and then again, look at a situation where somebody might have been a destitute person in a village, a young man who does not have any care, has not gone to school or has gone to school and dropped out, and he's not able to control. He doesn't have that power to control other people. And then as a result of the fact that he joins the fighters, he gathers that courage, and he's been looked upon as somebody who can protect the people. And then he gets out of, they all say power corrupts, absolute power corrupts. So when you see these people, when they get this power, they exercise it in many ways. They can do many things, atrocities, thinking that in their own mind is a way of showing their influence, something that they have been lacking. They are doing what we call compensatory mechanism in this case, because what they have been able to, they have lost, they are trying to compensate it by their actions, what they do to the people. And then, so by so doing this, they commit certain crimes which we stand out there and condemn. But how do we control this? The only way we can control this is if we have fighters on the ground, and whoever they listen to, these people have to come up with some kind of educational program which can help educate the fighters on how they should do things, how they should behave. There should be some discipline put within their ranks. Because when there's discipline within their ranks, what is going to happen is that before anybody goes out there to do something that is out of the norm, then he or she will know that there are consequences. So that is the only way I think that we could help our boys. The only way is to educate them and use the power that those who are involved, who have that connection with them, to come up with educative programs to help them. That, I think that is what I can possibly think at this moment.
Okay, let me ask you, as we are winding down, you've talked about education. What are possible treatment options available?
Okay, possible treatment options available. Yes, like I talked about the hotline, we need experts that could consult these people and give them some kind of therapeutic sessions in order to, but it's quite really difficult back home in terms of putting them together. But if we could make arrangements with identify individuals at home who could treat these people, we could give them that educative material or information which they can share with these people and hold sessions with them. Another thing is that if we choose to do the pharmacological approach, we could identify, do prescriptions. I will do as many prescriptions as I can, but I will do that prescription based on what is available on the ground, because there are certain brands of medications that will not be, they are not either here, but might not be there, but they could have some other generic forms of those medications back home. So we need to actually identify the medications that they have with them so that we can work with those medications that could be prescribed to these people. And remember, medications, treatment, pharmacological intervention comes with compliance. You don't take it and feel good today, and tomorrow you just abandon the medications, because those medications are out there to level up with the neurotransmitters in your brain. And if you stop taking them, they are not going to maintain that control or give you the ability to maintain that control of your symptoms. So education first. Second is doing the therapeutic interventions where you do organize sessions of training so that they could develop coping skills. And then the third is pharmacological, where we prescribe them those medications and which will count on their compliance in taking the medications and abiding to the treatment option or treatment plan that is designed. And we can prepare those treatment plans. It's not difficult. We can do that and say, okay, for this case, this is a treatment plan. For this case, this is a treatment. People who come with this condition, this is the treatment plan. Implement this treatment plan. If we are able to identify experts on the ground that will be able to do things, follow through with the instructions given by experts.
Thank you very much, Doc. I see your colleague has his hand up.
Yes.
Dr. Edmond Folefak. Dr. Edmond, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Hey, guys. So you see where I am at the airport. I'm in LA for a conference. Dr. Atianjoh, I mean, we talked before this and make this up. So, and I think thank you again for coming to do this. And I, one of the real reasons why I really thought that this would be extremely beneficial. It's not just about us telling people about PTSD and, what what can be done. But also, like you said, how do we actually, as a people, professionals in our different areas, leverage what we have now to start being able to lay the groundwork to help our people, to let our people know that we are there. This COVID taught us so much. And all of a sudden, COVID brought telemedicine a few years or maybe even a decade forward. Because pre-COVID, telemedicine was really just still being maybe at its infancy. But during COVID, because the patients, out of necessity, telemedicine became a thing where I can sit in my office and see a patient in their house. And if I can do that in their house, it means distance is no longer the issue, right? So
Yes.
If I can do that in the house of somebody sitting 5 miles from me, then I can do that 500 miles away, or 1,000 miles away. And I kind of think that this is why I really want us to really begin to sit back and develop these capabilities. And I've said this all along, that everybody who actually, all the professionals who actually sit out there and criticize what is going on the ground, but without actually stepping into the arena to see what they can do to help the people. Those people, I think the criticism should really be leveled more at the professionals, okay? Because the professionals, the country is not going to be built by politicians. The country is going to be built by technocrats. And if you already start leveraging, look at the medical doctors who start thinking about all these other aspects of medicine that we do. I do a lot of cancer care, and I've been doing that in Cameroon now for several years, across Africa, actually even. So, but if we can leverage, find the psychiatrists, find the social workers, find the psychologists, about who can actually do the counseling. And one of the things in particular in your field, you know what I'm talking about, that even to get a good counselor was becoming so difficult. But what COVID also taught us that these things can be done effectively online. And so here are very, very important things that we can, as a people, begin to really do, not only by ourselves here, but like I hear you say, can we identify the professionals back home, and kill this group thing? When you want to build these important aspects, we should make sure that it doesn't have to do with some individual being in some particular political group. That's not who we need to build a country. We need our technocrats. And so we will be working on a lot of things, as we go back. And there's a lot of funding also out there to really be able to get some of these projects up so we can do that. So maybe I just wanted to compliment, so the people get a bigger, sorry.
No, go ahead, Dr. Edmond. It's almost time, so.
Yeah. So I just wanted for people to comprehend the scale of what we're trying to do here, I hope you'll be coming back at some other point in time, and then we would take this job this very important aspect of our struggle forward. And just one last comment. It's about the people with guns at home. And my thinking is it is their handlers more than them that we really also need to condemn and need to call accountable. Those are the people who we need, because those people are not at the battlefront. They are not actually on harm's way. They are sitting in their cozy comfort of their own, homes, already somewhere here, and directing and misdirecting those people. So thank you again for doing this. I'm really sorry that because of the flight travel cancellations and delay, I was not able to, join you early on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Doc.
Yes, I know it's almost 2 minutes. We have Yah, who just wants to say something for 1 or 2 minutes, and then you give your closing remarks since you have to run.
Okay.
Yeah, unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not in a position to actually put on my video.
Yes.
But this problem of PTSD, I think I started talking about it a long time ago, like way from the beginning of our conflict, to say that our society has been run to the ground before the conflict even began, way before it began. Our people have been pushed to the extent that PTSD has been simmering sort of on the surface of the society, just the way the government itself as an instrument of wrath on the people, as an instrument of trouble. When you see the way the civil servants who work for the government are treated, the way our people have to make trips to Yaoundé, sleep under the elements, sun, rain, and moon, in the night time, in the daytime, walk along the streets and inside the corridors of the ministries to be able to get the benefits that they accrue to them from the jobs that they do. Just that suffering of pensioners who retire from government work and cannot get access to their pensions. Some of them even die on the streets of Yaoundé when they don't get the monies that they are owed. And the system is so corrupt that people are just frustrated to death. This PTSD has been simmering on the surface of our society. And by the time the conflict actually broke out, the government has instituted in the minds and in the hearts of the people a traumatic society that can, really drive people up the wall. So this PTSD is just a part of the instrument that the government is now using against the people through this war. Because it just doesn't happen that you are on the war front, but just the pressure of the killings and the evil of the war around you causes people to get into the stress situation that brings about PTSD. The government and any regime that comes into this country called Cameroon will never be able to take advantage and to take care of the kind of trauma that it has caused our people. So PTSD is a natural development tendency of our society as we have it. And so PTSD is present in our society even without the physical fighting of the war. So now to add on the war and then to get out of this long-term war without addressing this problem is really something that I think that even any negotiation that we engage with the Cameroon government can never treat it, because the Cameroon government doesn't care about it. It's something that it has actually mechanically instituted in our society. And it will take a long time for us to actually address the issues and get our people to get to a normal level of society before we deal with the trauma that is actually caused, the PTSD that is a result of the war itself. We have to look at the PTSD that is caused by the government on the people before you bring in the violence and the trauma of the war directly. So we have had indirect PTSD imposed on our society, and now we are directly facing it. And that is a compounded situation that becomes very complex for us to deal with. So I just thought I should put this element out in the open so that people actually not just don't think about PTSD as something that is brought on by the war, It's actually been brought on by the society, the very fabric and frame of society that we have been pushed into. That's all I need to talk about at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Iya. Thank you. So, Dr. Fidelis, it's your time. You have the last word. Thank you. And as Dr. Edmond said, we're looking forward to having you again. You have the last word.
Kilo, what you have just said, please, could you put that in the form of a paper, an educative paper? You put it out there, there will be very many interested people to read it, and they will like it. It's very nice. You articulated it, well articulated. If you put it in the form of a paper and an article, it will be very nice. Thank you for that. Actually, what I would say here that, ladies and gentlemen, post-traumatic stress disorder is a very, very serious problem that we have within, I would say that it is an endemic problem in our society at this moment, based on our experiences for over 50-something years or 60 years under control and trauma. Our people have been subjected to undue suffering. Villages have been burned. People have been killed. Document chasing, even job discrimination. That is a traumatic stimulus that could cause people to be in that situation. So yes, PTSD is a problem in our society, and it is identified. It's real. It's clear everywhere. So what I would need us to do here is, we should not only sit here and talk about it, we need to come up with solutions. We need to see how we can figure in our own ways. And I just want to add my voice to Dr. Folifak about us, the experts, technocrats coming together in different fields. We need psychologists, we need medical doctors, we need psychiatrists, we need counselors, we need therapists, we need teachers to also form an association so that they can educate our people, given the educational lapse that has occurred for the past 7 years. We need also pastors, we need all people of all walks of life to form a group of experts that can help. And I said earlier, we could, the hotline, let's put ourselves together, create working tools that could help our people back home, help our people in ground one, those that are out of home, ground one, help our prisoners. These prisoners are subjected to constant torture, which is a source of this PTSD. So we need to, first of all, start. They always say charity begins at home. We need to start by ourselves before others can join. I think that is the best way. Let us bring solutions to this problem. And the only problem, we contribute in our own little way. I know that little drops form an ocean. If we come in our little ways, A comes, B, Z. By the time we find somebody with Z comes, then it will be something that will be good. So we need that collective effort in order to help our people. And we should stop politicizing things, humanitarian. Humanitarian does not need to be politicized. All of us need to come together and build and help our people. That is what we need. So it was a pleasure being here, and I look forward to coming many more times. It's just that a lot of things are happening, but I will try to be more and more involved and be part of this team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Fidelis Atianjoh. We are very, very fortunate by God's blessings to have you as one of us Southern Cameroonians. This platform is always available to you and your expertise, anytime, any day, with or without notice. Thank you very much, Doc.
You're welcome.
Yeah.